Today's Shia, finally, we're coming to the end of the first Brucha in Shemoneh Esrei, the first Brucha which is called Birchas Uvois, and it ends with Baruch Atu Hashem Mugayin Avruam. Why doesn't it end Baruch Atu Hashem Mugayin Avruam Yitzchak v'Yaakov? After all, it's Birchas Uvois. Why does it end with Baruch Atu Hashem Mugayin Avruam, not Oizai Emayshia? So let's start with the Chazal. The Chazal say in Mesechtes Psuchim Daf Kif Yid Zayin, based on Psikim in Parshas Lech Lechu, Ve'eschulu Goy Gudoil, Avruam, Yitzchak, V'Yaakov. So the Gemara says, Yuchoil Yahayv Choismin Bikilon. You may think that we will conclude the Brucha by all, Avruam, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Since we started with Elekai Avruam, Elekai Yitzchak, Elekai Yaakov, let's end with all. The Gemara asks that, Tamad Loime Ve'yai Bruchu. B'chu Choismin, V'ay Choismin Bikilon. We will conclude the Brucha with you, Avruam, and not with the others. Klal Yisrael was built by Ovisayni Akdosh, by Avruam, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Was it built through Avruam only, separate, Yitzchak, Yaakov? The answer is Avruam is the main. The foundation was Avruam Avini. He started building Klal Yisrael. Avruam Avini was the one who did chesed in the world, and this midah Klal Yisrael inherited so well and so beautiful from Avruam Avini, our Zayda. Other bruchas in Shemoneh Esrei, all important, but if one davens without kavanah, it's not ma'akif, you're yoitzi. But the first bruch in Shemoneh Esrei, until past Baruch Atu Hashem Mugayin Avruam, this bruch is le'kiva. Meaning, let's explain this in more words. It's a gemura in bruches, and it's brought down as Shulchan Aruch in Simei Kif Aleph, where the Torah says, Tuni Rabuna. We have talked about this in the past, but since we're finishing the first brucha, let's add a couple of more things to emphasize how important it is to have the proper kavuna, at least in the first brucha of the Shemoneh Esrei, in order to be yotzeh. As the Bialy Rebbe points out, the person could live until 120, becomes to Shemayim, and make a dimah cheshm. How many Shemoneh Esreis did you daven? Questionable. How many Shemoneh Esreis he ever davened in his life? This is a little scary. So at least if you would have that brucha in mind, then you have done it. And you succeeded. Which is not so easy. Because sometimes when we finish that brucha, which we had a shia, finish the brucha, what's the solution? Can I fix it? When you finish that brucha, oy vey, what did I do? I missed it. I said, Baruch Atu Hashem Mugayin Avruam. So it says in the Gemara, the Torah quotes the Gemara, one davens must have the proper kavuna by all the bruchas. The Torah quotes at least the end of every brucha, but the Gemara says you have to have kavuna by all the bruchas. If you cannot have proper kavuna by all the bruchas, at least the Gemara says yichavim b'uvois. A person should measure himself. Can I have the proper kavuna b'uvois or not? If not, don't start. Don't daven. V'mispal v'lo kivim b'uvois. The Gemara says if he davened and didn't have the proper kavuna b'uvois, yachzoi v'yispal. Daven again. You're not yotzeh. If he had the proper kavuna b'uvois, You don't have to daven again. You're yoitze. That means, says the Torah, Yira, even if he had kavuna by all the bruchas in Shemoneh Esrei, he didn't have the proper kavuna in the first brucha, he must daven again. The first brucha is the main. Now, since our kavuna is, who's sure if we'll daven the second time with kavuna, so therefore, ein choizrin b'shul chasun is chasun kavuna. We don't daven again for chasun kavuna. Even though we hold mitzvahs ein tzrichas kavuna, this is not mitzvah tzrichas kavuna. Soon we'll address other maforshim why it's so important dafke this brucha. If you don't have kavuna the taich, we're talking about taich again, the taich of every word in the brucha, you're not yoytze. Not because of mitzvah tzrichas kavuna, because the way the Anshe K'nei Yisrael Mavegesh the Shemoneh Esrei, the first brucha is the main. We'll come back to it in a few minutes. The halacha l'maisa, we don't tell a person to daven again in Shemoneh Esrei. This banaini, our das is not settled. Who knows if the second time, if he will daven with kavuna, and the Chacham and Taka said daven again, and who knows if that's going to help. As the Rosh Hashanah points out, we don't do it. But one thing is for sure, it shows us how important it is to daven the first brucha b'kavuna. So when we start the Shemoneh Esrei, at least, a person should stop and think, let me have kavuna in the first brucha. After all, it's questionable if he's yoytze or not. So what the person must be misamitz himself, strengthen himself. When it comes to Hashem's Fusai Tiftach, to stop and think, okay, let me put all thoughts, our minds aside, and let's emphasize on this brucha. The Pele Yoyetz, it's repetitious, but it's good to hear from many Sfurim their l'shoinis about this halacha, about this din, about the first brucha in Shemoneh Esrei. Those who know the din and don't have the proper kavuna, they are sitting litten dim v'cheshbon oivai luni meyoyim din. Scary, he says, that if we won't have the proper kavuna. Therefore, again, one must be mischazik himself. If he doesn't know how, let him go to a chacham, he'll teach him the taich of each and every word, and he'll teach him how to say the first brucha in order not to be embarrassed la'olam habu. Ashla, and he concludes, Ashla you wish, Yura is Hashem. So the Mishnah Berurah Taka says, the name of the Chayudam, if he reminded himself the end of the brucha, before he said, Burich Atu Hashem, Bogan Avrom, go back to the kind of the Kayvasani and say that again. The Chazon Ish says, don't say it with a full mouth, don't say it every word with the mouth, have kavuna, the words, then you'll continue. Burich Atu Hashem Bogan Avrom. Al Kapunim we see the Choymer Advurim, how stringent this is, that we have to have the proper kavuna. The Mishnah Berurah points out in some, yes.
So can you say for someone who's not fluent in Russian Kodesh that it would actually, but he knows how to read, is it better, like the Tefilos, to just say it, have one that you said it, and then go back and understand the Kodesh? Is that the Tefilos, or that's still the other?
The Chetchile is, he should learn, he should be taught the taich of each and every word from Burich. And that means you could take a taich siddur and learn, teach himself, or go to a Rav and he should teach him, a teacher, a Rebbe. This is something that he has to do. So the Mishnah Berurah Taka says, why is it the first brucha that's so important more than any other bruchas in the Shemoneh Esrei? Since this brucha is misade, the praise of Hashem, therefore, Aina Bedin, that his heart should be wandering around to other things. That's why it's so important. The Maral Meprak talks about it, why it's so important, because this brucha talks about Avrom, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. And that's the main tefillah. Ki b'koyach ha-brucha azois hi kol ha-tefillah. The koyach, this bruchas, is the entire tefillah. This brucha mentions in the Kavno Yitzchak Yaakov. The Huvis is the Hishtalshalis Oilam. They were the ones. They began telling the world there is Hashem in the world. And we are their descendants. So therefore we have to be careful and do it the proper way. So we see from here how important it is, the first brucha of Vovos. Not only that, to understand and to know what's the depth in the words Mugan Avram. Why is this so special? Baruch Atah Hashem Mugan Avram. Mugan Avram. What's behind this bruch? The Hema says it's difficult to feel, to be margish, the chesed that HaKadosh Baruch Hu did to Avram Avinu so many years ago, thousands of years ago. Mainly when he fought with the 5 kings, Hashem did a chesed with him. When he went to save Lot, his brother's son, Hashem shield over him, and he told him, "Onoichi mugain loch scharcho habe mioid." From there, this other Shoy we'll see soon. From there it stems this language, Mugain of Rome. Anoichi Mugain Lach. I will shield over you. Even though we can't go back that many years, but yet the Gemara says, a person is obligated to visualize, or even stronger, to see, as if he Yutzum in Mitzrayim. So a person is mechiv to go back that many years. Wow, Avram Avinu did so much chesed. To feel what Hashem did to him for the chesed that he did. Therefore, this bruch is so important, and it's ma'akiv. This is from Sefer Malapito Secha from Rav Steinman. If not for the Hatzula of Avram Avinu, Klal Yisrael wouldn't be here today. We wouldn't have a Torah. There's no other nation that is qualified to accept the Torah except Klal Yisrael, descendants of Avram Avinu. If HaKadosh Baruch Hu wouldn't have saved Avram Avinu, there wouldn't be Yitzchak, there wouldn't be Yaakov, there wouldn't be Shutim, and there wouldn't have been a Brias Oilam. Because the Gemara says in Chagiga, Imloi Bris Yom V'Loilu Yom Inuvi says, without the Torah, I wouldn't have created the world. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Mugain Avram, the chesed of the entire Bria. Therefore, when we fully understand what it means, Mugan Avram, we had in the past Shirim, the Kai Avram, the Kai Yitzchak, the Kai Yaakov, the Meforshim explained to visualize what Avram Avinu did, what Yitzchak did, what Yaakov did, their lifetime, their accomplishments. But when it's Baruch Atah Hashem Mugain Avram, it's Mugain Avram. Anoichi Mugain Loch. To know and to feel and to realize that Klal Yisrael and the Torah was given. Klal Yisrael is only, the existence is only through Avram Avinu. We came to this madrega. That's Baruch Atah Hashem Mugain Avram. Says the Yisod Shoyesh Avodah on the brucha of Mugain Avram, on these words. He begins, V'yachshoiv kama po'omim. You should think several times or many times, Givirois Hashem, when you start saying the Baruch Atah Hashem Mugain Avram, the strength of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Where do we see the strength of HaKadosh Baruch Hu by Mugain Avram? Because this is Mugain Avram. Avram Avinu went through so many nisyonis. Again, mentioned the war when he was saved in Yer Kasdim and other nisim that Avram Avinu went through, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu always by his side, always saved him. Mugan Avram. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, "Anoichi mugain lach." And the reason why this bruch is called Birchas Uvis, fi sheniskri bayu Uvis, because the Uvis are mentioned in this bruch. Again, im loy kiven ba, if the person doesn't have proper kavuna, even though he had kavuna by all the other bruchas in Shemoneh Esrei, he must daven again. And then let me also include the umain of this brucha. And the Yisod HaShoysh says, umain, the kavunas ha-brucha, what a person should have in mind when he says the umain of the brucha of Mugan Avram, emes, you have to thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu, his Baruch Shemoy, that he's mugain imoishia l'chol u'olam, he shields and helps the whole world, and he was a mugain le'Avram, and good lo oina umain yosem ma'amavurech. And to know that the Chazal say that the greatness of entering umain is even greater than the brucha itself. V'ikihi, the kavuna in his machshava, not to some say the word umain, to understand for which brucha he's saying umain, for what you're saying umain. It says in Pirkei de Eliezer, this sefer was written by Eliezer Harkenis. Stam Eliezer in Shas is Eliezer ben Harkenis. He was a Talmud Mivik of Rebbe Kiva, a son-in-law of Rebbe Shimon ben Gamliel. He and Rebbe Shia carried the bed of Rebbe Yochanan ben Zakkai. That's Eliezer ben Harkenis. So wrote a sefer, was Pirkei de Eliezer, goes through the Torah. So this is also quoted in the Rekayach. Let me start from the Rekayach and I'll mention the words. The Rekayach says, Kishehiku Avruam es ha-Meluchim. When Avruam Avini killed the Meluchim. Umad Avruam Avini got up and he davened l'fnei Kudosh Baruch Hu, v'oime v'boin kol ha'ilumim. Kudosh Baruch Hu, I didn't do it with the power of my hands. As all this that I did, your power, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You shield me in this world and also in the world to come. The Meluchim answered, "V'omri burich atu Hashem mugan Avram." This is where it comes from. Pirkei de Eliezer. Al tiru Avram u'noichim mugan loch. HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Avram Avinu, "Don't be afraid. I'll be your mugan. I'll shield over you."
It was actually the Malachim who composed it.
The Meluchim composed that bracha. Says Rabbeinu Avram, the son of the Vilna Gaon, on this bruch. Avram Avini had betuchen in Hashem betachlis ha-betuchen, which is the highest level of betuchen. He was meis nefesh himself, many danger, only for kvod Hashem. Therefore Hashem came to him and told him, "Anoichi mugain loch, I will help you from all dangers. Nobody will have a shlita over you, a koyach over you. Schorchu haba meyoid, on the great betuchen that you have." Therefore we conclude Mugain Avram. We don't conclude Oizai and Moshiach, we only conclude with Mugain. As he was moise nefesh in any danger, and Hashem's shield over him, no fire, no enemy had a koyach over him because of the betuchen that he had. Let me mention a medrash. A medrash Yirashinim. Lebrechye b'shem Rabbi Yitzchak Oma. Lebrechye in the same Rabbi Yitzchak says, Uma Avruam lefnei Kadosh Baruch Hu. Avrum Avini tells HaKadosh Baruch Hu, now we are coming closer to us. Till now we discussed Avrum Avini. What does that have to do with us? Rebbeinu shel olam, li nasis mugain. You are a shield over me. Elabunai ainatu nasim mugain. What's with my children? Umalakados borchi luchu hu yisi mugain echad. For you I was one mugain. Shenema noiche mugain loch. Avul levanechu, for your children. Ani nase meginim harbe. Many shields. Chsiv elef hamugain tuli ulav kol shulta geboinim. Elef hamugain. Many mugains for your children. For us. In the schis of Rav Mevini. In the Chiddush Shirim, we find beautiful Lashonis, very heartfelt Lashonis when it comes to this Baruch HaMugan Avram. The Chiddush Shirim in his Sefer says, in Sefer Zechis, Avram Muvini was poiled for generations to come, doide doides, even if they will be far. Im kol zois, Yisha pnimiyis ahava ma'Hashem yizburich al Yisrael. Hashem will still have the love to each and every Yid. Gam belev Yisrael. The same thing, kamayim punim al punim. The love of every Yid will also be to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Sha pnimiyis Yisha ba'avis b'nai Yisrael. Even though you don't see it, but deep inside, you could see it. It's only hidden. There's an akida in the heart of every Yid that Hashem Yisburach is a mugain, and he shouldn't get lost. On this we make the bracha to Hashem Yisburach mugain Avram. And the Sifsa Tzaddik, his grandson, says, Shumati, I heard from the mouth of my Zayder, from the Chiddush Shirim, Sheyesh b'chol echad miYisrael, each and every Yid has a spark that he inherited from Avram Avini. Calls man he is alive. Yuchel lehisakin v'lalois, he has the koyach of come back up from the darkness, from deep darkness to aliyah gedoylu. Therefore, make the bracha mugan Avram. The nitzis comes, the spark comes, mugan nuni, that no Yid should get lost, and no matter how dark it is. This Tzaddik in another place brings the same Indian, different words. On the fact that we make the Baruch HaMugan Avram al pi divra medish mimechu he'madati meginim, which means from Avu Muvini comes the Mugains to Klal Yisrael. He poiled that there should be left for Chol Ish Yisrael, and again the Kiddush Pnimis that will never get ruined. And this is in every Yid, you have that Mugain, the Pnimis Alev. That's from the Koyach of Avram. So Hashem says, another grandson, 10 Nisyonis Avram went through only because of B'nai Yisrael for the future doidos. Because we all have that Nekida, that dat, B'chol Ish Yisrael from Avram Avini. Kain Shomati, this is what I heard from my Zayda Moiri Verabi. And that's how he explained Mugan Avram. Shem Yisburach shields on that Nekida, it will never get lost, on each and every Yid, through the Nisyonis, is Nisbarer, was clarified that the Nekidis of Avram Avini is in each and every Yid. With that koyach, with that spark, with that koyach that we inherited from Avram Avini, we have the strength to fight against kol hasturois olam hazeh, any difficult times that we go through, that we have to go through in this world. And Avada, Mugan Avram, that the Nekida Pnimi should not get ruined. It should always be intact. And that promise we have when the Gemara says, B'chu chaisme, we finish with you. Burichatu Hashem Mugan Avram. It should always remain Belev Kol Yisrael. So I want to mention now a particular Rebbeinu Leibshitz. Amazing piece. He says like this. How could a person have the chutzpah of saying the words Mugan Avruam, V'ainoi Sam Alev, and he doesn't even think, just think about it, to go in the footsteps of Rumvrum Avini, the Midas HaChesed and Rachman. To accept anything that HaKadosh Baruch Hu does, B'yahavu, even if the person is Navanaid, which means he doesn't have where to live. Today he's here and tomorrow he's there. Even if he goes through Nebuch Tzurais Rabbis, we shouldn't know. Just like Avram Avini. Avram Avini, as we heard before, was the epitome of Betuchem B'Hashem. And he went through so many nisyonis, always Tumim Tia Im Hashem. It was always be'emes with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This is something we have to put to our heart when we say the first Bruch of Shemon Esrei. These are the words of Rebbeinu Leibshitz when he talks about the end of the first Bruch. I'd like to conclude with an amazing story. I only saw this a few minutes before he came. This Maisa is told over from the Menai Sascha, that he mentioned it from the Baal Shem Tov. The Menai Sascha, when he davened, he had the Siddur of the Riyah Kudish next to him. When he davened, he didn't look into the Siddur when he davened. He just had that Siddur open. He had a plain Siddur Poshet. But that Siddur was always next to him. They asked him, why do you always have that Siddur in front of you open? And he answered, there was a Maisa about the Baal Shem Tov. There was once a Yid that lived in a town, a small little town, and Nebuch, he didn't pay rent to the Puritz, who owned many houses and woods, very rich person. It was a big Rosh. Being that the Yid Nebuch didn't pay rent for such a long time, what should I say? He killed the father and mother. He killed husband and wife. And there was a little boy left. And he took the boy. He kidnapped the boy. Nebuch, he was raised in the house of the Puritz, not knowing anything, not knowing that he's a Yid. It came before the Shoshuna. This child saw there's a group of Yidden that are traveling from the town. And he asked them, where are you going? So they told him, we're going to the city to daven the Shoshuna. And one of the people told him, I have a secret, you are also a Yid. You're ours. You're our brother. You're not the son of the Puritz, as you think you are. The Puritz, the Achze, killed your parents. And he told, let me show you where your parents lived, which house they lived. That's the house where they lived. And the child went back to the Puritz. And he asked him, is it true that I'm a Yid? He said, no, who told you that? He denied the whole story. You're not a Yid. But it didn't sit well with the child. He did feel something, that spark of Mugan Havruam. The Kid Primius, he felt it inside. So the child went to the woods where they showed him his parents' house, and he found the Siddur. He didn't know what it was. He didn't know, not even other base. He took the Siddur to the house of the Puritz. Before Yom Kippur, he sees again a group of people are gathering together. And he asked them, where are you going? This time, we're all going Yom Kippur to the city. And he quickly ran back, took his Siddur, and he asked that Yid, he should tell him all about his parents, who they were. He told him, you should know that this Siddur you have now in your hands is the Korban Mincha Siddur. that every Yiddish mama owned at that time. And this was your mother's siddur. Look, your mother's name is in that siddur. Your name is in the siddur. It says when you were born. Elachim always had a sefer, always wrote the names of the family and the birth dates. My father also wrote it in the Rambam. And we found that the bruchas that he gave every child, mamish, it was mekim, they write it when the child is born. So, and he showed him, look, your name is there. It says when you were born. The child was nesiragish ma'oid. He felt the connection, the kesher he had with this siddur, my mother's siddur. And he decided he's going with them in Kippur. He took the siddur with him. He's sitting in the Beis HaMedrash, not knowing how to daven. And his neshama became inflamed, engulfed, from the voices of the tefillah that Yidden davened. He opens the siddur, he wants to daven, but he doesn't know not even one word. He started crying and he said, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, this siddur is my mutter's siddur, my mama's siddur. If she would be alive, she would daven in the siddur today. I don't know how to daven. Rebbeinu Shalom, please, you daven for me. Says the Baal Shem Tov, the words of this child made such a mark in Shemayim. And the Menaas Hoschach concluded with his anuva. The Aboisai HaKadoshim, my holy Rebbes, they knew how to daven the Siddur Harizal. I don't know how to daven, don't know the kavunas. So therefore I opened the Siddur and I asked HaKadosh Baruch Hu, please daven for me. That's what the Menaas Hoschach said. Now the Menaas Hoschach in his Anivis, but isn't this an amazing chizik, a misa haskel, that we all could learn, that a person should know from the depth of his heart, that when it comes to davening, he should daven with a shivrin lev, with a broken heart, to pour out his heart to Avini Shabashamayim, that his tefillah should make a mark. My tefillah today is going to make a mark in Shamayim. Anything that Klal Yisrael needs from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's on the schis of davening. Just that brucha. Purich atu Hashem mugan Avron, with the right kavuna. Mugain. Hashem will shield over us. Hashem will protect over us. And we be zoiche that all the sechisim that Avram Avini, whatever he did, was only for us. The Tanisiyonis will come to us and will be zoiche to be makabel panay Mashiach tzedkani mani omai.